Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. I am here with Kirk Otis. He is with Merger Partners. Kirk, welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure.
All right. Give us some background on you, and then I want to talk about some of the things that maybe most people don't get a chance to talk about in your position.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds excellent. So my background, I really started in a technology firm, technology division of LTV, downtown Dallas, and left there and joined the telecom craze back in the 90s and spent 20 years in corporate development doing strategic transactions, looking for ways to get into new markets and into new products and into new regions of the world, and then following that up with execution plans to actually execute. So I'd say I'm a strategic execution guy.
That's good. That's a good statement. And the world needs more strategic execution guys.
Right.
So the big thinkers.
And I parlayed that into a CEO slot in the semiconductor space. It was focused on telecom at the time in optics, and we pivoted that firm to become a leader in the illumination systems for autonomous driving. And now I'm in the investment banking space.
Now let's go there. On the investment banking space, you're saying that we could do better in our local area in Dallas. I want you to bring that out. Talking about inorganic growth, roll-ups, management team,
right.
Things like that.
Well, I think when I was talking to you about that, I have a bit of a passion project personally in the venture space. Because I think we've got a serious gap in our community in the access to venture capital. And the implication is entrepreneurs end up spending an inordinate amount of time chasing for capital. And while they're doing that, they're struggling, but they're also not developing the company. They're not focused on customers and product development during that time period. They're more focused on trying to chase down capital, and it's simply because there's too few dollars in the Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas region for venture. We've got incubators, we got angel networks, and I think a lot of the angel networks are loath to invest because they don't know who's going to follow on. Where investment banking picks up is a transition that those entrepreneurial-led companies that had venture rounds in them, investing in them to take them to the next round once they become profitable.
How would you make a solution? There's got to be a bridge here.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a quick and ready answer. What happened is we had a lot of VC money was going into the telecom space. That fell apart, and so those funds didn't return their capital. It was a bit of a disaster, and so a lot of people were reluctant to put money into the VC. And then at the same time, oil and gas came around, the real estate market rebounded, and so a lot of money have poured into those sectors that would have gone into venture. And there'll probably be some rotation as those segments mature and the opportunities for returns, outsized returns, kind of diminish in real estate and oil and gas. Maybe, hopefully we'll see some of that money flow back into the venture coffers and attract some VC talent into the community.
Okay. Having VC money come into Dallas can't just be dependent on other markets diminishing. There's other things that would be attractive. High returns and a prolific amount of deals. Is there any sectors you're looking at or any teasers you think that we would get, whether it's Boston, Silicon Valley, or other pockets of classic venture capital that would come here? Or do you think it's better to just be organic about it and grow it from within? Because if there is a void, trust me, there'll be some brilliant person figure out how to fill it.
The couple of hot themes that are coming, and a natural for us is 5G technology. So there'll be a whole application space that develops around 5G and themes that support 5G. So that will likely be a catalyst, or one of the catalysts that affect us. Artificial intelligence is another space I think that is probably prime for the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Why do you say that? Why do you say AI is big for here?
There's a lot of firms that are focused in financial services, banking, and communications, and those areas are areas where you can implement AI. And AI is going to be everywhere,
right?
But it should be here too.
Okay, so you think that Dallas is lacking in the AI space, and that's why we're having it? Or
I'm just saying there's
embryonic?
opportunities. Yeah, I just say there's opportunities, and there's unique developments going on in the area, and local talent can bring the AI component to those worlds.
Okay. One of the things that you mentioned in our prior conversation is that energy is hot. I want to hear more about that. Why you think, energy is so hot here?
Well, that's kind of a play on words, but
yeah,
it's hot. No state uses more energy than Texas.
Right.
And it's because of the heat. No state generates more wind power than the state of Texas. And the issue with wind is it happens in the morning, and in the morning hours, and that's not the heat of the day. And so there's sort of a disconnect of when the cheap power is available and when the power is most costly. And the deals I was talking about happen to be battery deals.
Okay.
Using cryogenics is one, using everything from utility scale batteries to batteries in the home. And in the last 6 months or so, I've seen 4 various power deals around battery technologies, or using battery technologies, or AI around battery. And it's kind of interesting. And it's all focused on solving this time shift of when the power is available and generated and when it's required.
Okay. In that vein, are you seeing like longer lasting batteries, or is it just a technology to be able to modulate the battery's lifespan and the energy
It's just a matter of changing the generation of power and making it available later in the day.
Okay.
So it's not the lifespan of the battery, it's simply the cost of doing that.
Do you think that that's our biggest value that we have here in our area right now is more energy based, or are there other things? I mean, you mentioned AI earlier, but I talk to people all day long about all kinds of types of market sectors.
I think energy is interesting to us because it's a technology we have here, because we have a competitive marketplace for power. The environment is flexible, so we can implement some things here that not all the states can, and we've got the need, because we've got more wind energy than any other state, and we've got more.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
more than California, more in the East Coast
by far.
Oh
yeah, we're number one in terms of wind energy.
Okay.
And in fact, I think the Dallas Morning News or somebody came out with a report that said in June, 22% of our power in the state came from wind, and 21% came from the second source, which is coal.
So would it be safe to say that we're really...
Actually, they were just comparing it to coal. I think the second source is actually natural gas, but it was the first time that wind had exceeded coal in terms of generation.
Are we becoming more of a green state than most people know? By being
Probably
able to
so.
do that?
Probably so.
That should be a big marketing campaign for the state.
I mean, the number one state that consumes power is the number one wind producer, and we're the number one consumer of wind energy, naturally.
Got it. All right. So,
not that I'm a wind proponent.
it's
great stuff. I don't mind.
All right. So, let's circle back, because one of the big things that you came on the show to talk about is how the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, needs more venture capital to invest in more companies. Is it a changing of the restrictions on the types of investment capital that you think need to be made, or is it more education on the entrepreneurs to get them up to the point where they can actually be prepared to accept professional investment type money?
Well, I think it's the latter. I think we've got the technology, we've got the talent, we've got a number of the factors. But generally speaking, entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial-led teams, if there's one area they lack in, and we were talking about this earlier as well, is in the financial disciplines. That's not first and foremost in their tool bag. Mm-hmm. They're technologists. Technologists actually make great finance minds because it works the same, but the tools they use aren't financial statements and forecasts.
Right.
And a lot of times when, as an investment banker, we go and we have somebody come in and talk to us and we ask for their financial statements, it sounds kind of crazy to me, but they'll say, well, let me go to my tax guy and I'll get that for you. And when they say that, I know that they're going to provide me the 2017 financial statements that were used to do the tax filing in 2018 last fall, and that they've got nothing more current than that, because that's what they're giving me. Mm-hmm. And they've got no forecast. I mean, why would you forecast based on something from 2017? I mean, right?
Right.
And that's how they run their business, which is fine as an entrepreneur because they have a good pulse on it. But when you're talking to financial investors and financial buyers of companies, having year-and-a-half-year-old financials and no forecast it's like you're talking two different languages.
So it's financial literacy within the entrepreneurial family that really needs to come up to speed in order for the outside investment bankers, the professional private equity investors, to become really genuinely interested in this area.
I think they're interested. I don't think that's as much an impediment, but when it comes to doing a transaction,
right?
If you're going to do a transaction with somebody that you're going to have to fight to get the financial information from,
right,
versus somebody that has it at their fingertips because they have a finance guy that's already put it together, it's all thought through, everything's holistically thought about, it all works together, and everyone's working off one truth about the company. Mm-hmm. If I was doing due diligence on two companies, it's a whole lot easier for me to get my head wrapped around and get comfortable and confident about somebody that has the financial element as part of the plan versus a guy that has great technology but has no financial basis.
Great vision, great technology, but no financial structure.
Yeah, it's just a rigor thing, and everyone's heard, accounting is the language of business. Well, when it comes to attracting institutional investors and talking to banks, it really is. And a good finance guy can put you in a right path in terms of where the profit pockets are, where you should be focusing investment dollars, because he can prove it out in the finances. What sounds good to the entrepreneur from a simplicity standpoint doesn't always return provide a return on investment. And a finance guy can get convinced one way or another. They're not they're not the creator of the truth, but they can help you work through those permutations to figure out where to focus and where the returns can be derived from.
Good words of wisdom. Is there anything else you want to bring out to the audience before we close today? Excuse me.
Well, the other big thing that's going on, I'd say, big trend is we're coming to this big baby boomer issue where we've got roughly 1.2 million businesses in the U.S. That are in the $10 to $100 million range. And boomers are big-time leaders of those companies, and they're going to be exiting. And when they do that, this whole issue of financial rigor is going to become a problem or an opportunity for those that focus on it. And so I think it's a huge opportunity for financial advisors and experts in that area to get engaged and provide some real value.
So are you thinking that the next generation really isn't inclined to address the financials as much as the previous generation, the baby boomers, were?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying that when these transactions occur,
Right.
the seller's got to be ready.
Okay.
Otherwise, the buyer's going to move on to the next opportunity.
Got it. Good point. All right, Kirk, thanks for being a guest on
You bet.
today's show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.